You probably think that your code needs to be perfect in order to be valuable, and you couldn't be more wrong. This mindset kept me from building the products that I wanted to build because I thought that I wasn't good enough of a developer. But the thing that I needed to break from that was to build my first app with React Native. It took me 6 months to build my first app with a friend, but it took me 2 weeks to build my second one with React Native. And last week I built another application that it took me only 1 afternoon to build. And no, it's not because I'm a 10x developer who can code on a text editor with no help of AI. It is because I don't care about a code base that my user is never going to see. Once that I find the solution to my problem, that's where I clean the things up. I learned that users don't care about beautiful code, they care about beautiful solutions. When you focus on building fast, you're combining two of the most powerful productivity laws, Pareto's principle and Parkinson's law. In this video you'll learn why shipping fast is important, but also how you're going to be able to ship fast when you have a busy schedule, as I'm a software engineering student full-time while also being a personal trainer at full-time that's building coding products on the side while doing this YouTube channel. This strategy I stole it from Elizabeth Phillips, I think that's her name. She's one of the biggest YouTubers right now, and she had a concept that I really like called priming, and it's when you're not directly doing the activity itself, but you're preparing yourself to do that activity. When you decide to sit down and code, realistically you're not coding all the time because that's quite hard to do. You actually have to face the problem, think about the problems, think about the solutions, and by priming yourself to solve a problem, you're going to be able to tackle the problem much more efficiently. When I know that I have an idea for a project, I don't just sit down and code the project. I write it on my to-do list, I think about it, I read the documentation of the test that I probably am going to need to use to build this project, I see what potential solutions I can build, I write some maybe okayish ideas or some good enough ideas that I can use to build this project, I read about potential problems that the potential users may have, all of these things to prime myself to know what exactly do I need to do when I sit down and code. It's not that I'm going to sit down and be, oh, I wonder what am I going to code today. No, I know what I'm already going to do. And that's why when I'm sitting down and coding, I can just get down to business and not waste any time. Something that I do a lot when I'm priming is that I use a lot of pseudocode and diagrams. I think they're really underestimated for people. You gotta think that abstraction, which is just a very fancy term of just making big problems into smaller problems, is one of the most important things in coding. So if you can just grab that massive big problem that you have as a project idea and chunk it into smaller projects or smaller problems that you need to tackle one step at a time, it's going to be much easier for you to develop that coding structure that is going to actually solve the problem. And once that you understand how the problem is visualized, the problems that you may encounter in the solution, all of this coding structure is going to be much easier to actually sit down and code what you need to code rather than thinking about what solutions do you need to code. I stopped treating projects like if it was just something that I might finish one day, and now I'm going always with a hackathon mentality. When I'm going and tackling this problem, I'm sitting down and I'm scheduling a lot of time that day just to finish that part. And if I don't finish it, that's okay, it just happens, that's just life. But my aim is to actually finish that project on that same day. Of course, that it really depends on the complexity of the problem. If you're building a big application, it's going to take you weeks, if not months, if not years. But at least if you're trying to solve a small problem, you want to try to incentivize that urgency. You need urgency, you need to move because the time is finite, especially if you're busy and you're building things. Which takes me to my next point, and I think that is the most important point of the video, and is that the two biggest tools that you can use when coding are Pareto's principle and Parkinson's law. Pareto's principle tells us that 80% of the results come from 20% of the work, and that 20% of the results comes from 80% of the work. What you want to do is focusing on the solution of the problem that is going to be that 20% of effort that is going to give you 80% of the results. You might have heard of the MVP term, that we're gonna talk about that later today, but I want that you keep that in mind. You gotta build the solution that's actually solving the problem, because the second principle that I want you to think about is the Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law states that a task is going to be stretched or is going to be done in the amount of time that you have available to do so. And that's why so many developers struggle to build projects outside their work, because they don't really have a sense of urgency to do so. They just feel that they have all the time in the world, they don't really have any urgency, they can just keep going to work and nothing bad's gonna happen. So why would they build something outside of work? And that goes with my previous point of having a hackathon mindset. When you have urgency to actually build things, you're going to develop them faster. You can maybe create incentives for yourself, and you can just text a friend to tell them that you have to text them with the solution by the end of the day. You gotta create some sort of artificial urgency, because otherwise you're not going to get focused. And I know what I've just said about the Pareto's principle, but you also have to know that bar is set way higher than it was before. 10 years ago, you could build a very simple project, horrible UI, horrible functionalities, but very basic solution, and that goes straight to the point, and you will probably get a million clients. And that era is absolutely gone. Now you can build products super fast, you can build products quite beautifully. Now, the concept of MVP has evolved. You can get a lot of market validation quite easily nowadays with social media, but at the same time, you also have more tools to build faster. So you gotta find that balance. I know it's really hard. I would say that always lean more on the part of building and shipping way faster than you think that you can, because on that way you're going to iterate and learn faster, so you don't spend so much time building something for people that don't really want it. Here's probably one of my favorite quotes about startup world, and is that you need to do things that don't scale. I think one of my favorite stories is the stories about Zappos and how the guy that founded Zappos literally just bought the shoes, posted them online, and shipped them himself. Because at that era, people didn't know if selling shoes online were something that it was going to actually work. Like if you really put themselves in their shoes, no pun intended, it will have a lot of challenges. How are people going to get the measurements? How are they going to trust the shoe size? How are they going to know that the shoe is actually looking as pretty as the picture? There's a lot of challenges with online shopping 10, 15 years ago. This is definitely going to struck a nerve, but you need to be ashamed of the code that you're writing. If you're not writing horrible spaghetti code as fast as possible in order for you to get that done ASAP, you're probably not writing code fast enough, or at least you're probably quite experienced. But you need to just ship the thing. You can't overthink about so many different problems that are gonna come around. You have to go with the mentality that you're just jumping on a parachute and figure it out on the go. You can't just find a tutorial for everything. It's so easy for people to get caught up in tutorial hell and try to prevent every possible scenario and try to abide to every possible law that exists in the world. In reality, you're probably super small and no one cares about you, so you might as well keep trying until they actually become potentially threatened by your existence, whether that is governments or people or competitors. Which takes me to my next point, is that people nowadays think that they have to know everything about everything, when in reality you just have to know the necessary thing to build the thing that you want to build, and that's it. Unexpected problems will happen, but you can't prevent everything because you just don't know. When I built my first application, I just didn't know how many problems I was going to build just by opening Expo and actually doing a development build. It took me days sometimes to solve those problems because they're very annoying, unexpected problems, and you only learn those by actually doing the work. It's like going to the gym and starting to do deadlifts or pull-ups. You're gonna start to get those calluses on your hand, and it's just going to get better with time and you're going to get used to them, but that's how it should be. You can't just prevent all of those things before they actually happen. And this is something that I really realized when I built the first application that I did, Habify. Building the thing is never going to be the hardest part. Actually attracting people to the thing is going to. You feel so proud when you build something on your own, even though you can't celebrate with anyone else because you're on your own and your friends probably don't care. It's really hard to actually attract customers to your application. That's why people say, or at least experienced developers say, that building B2C applications, it's really hard. Much easier to actually dedicate yourself to building something B2B, because companies are much more prone to actually paying for a service as long as it solves a pain point. And as a fun fact, I only have like 2 main friends that they're developers, and I always bounce ideas with them because, I just really like talking about tech. And the 2 of them are really hardcore on actually being quite good technically. They're way smarter than I am. I can absolutely admit to that. And I don't really care about being technically smart. I know that that's something that I should aim at, because in the end it's going to make me a better problem solver. It's like I'm not close to the idea, but I'm also not targeting to that. And every time that I'm working on something, they're always criticizing how I'm doing it, how I'm making everything too easy, or how I'm building everything too fast, or how I'm leaning too much on AI, so on and so on. But every time that I build something, they're always saying how good the product actually is, because I am solving a problem. It might not be the prettiest solution, but it's not like I'm building a solution to solve a problem for 10 million people. I'm just building a solution to myself or to a couple of friends. It's always about something quite small, but I know that that's reps that I'm getting in the tank to become a better problem solver. That's the thing that you need to aim at. You need to listen to your customers, not to your peers. And you need to ask yourself, who do you want to impress? The people that are building things with you, as in like your colleagues, or maybe friends that are really close that they're also building things, or you want to impress people that they're actually going to buy your products. In some cases, they might be both, and that's a bit different. But if you're trying to build something that is for a specific audience and you don't know anyone from the audience, don't take so much input from anyone else. Obviously take it with a pinch of salt, because they might have personal experiences from that journey that you're embarking to, but you can't also take their word for everything, because they're just not your target audience. You need to listen to your customers. And I want to close down with this because I think it's also quite important, that building fast doesn't mean building buggy things. It means that you just need to build the minimum amount of solution for your customers to be willing to pay you money. That doesn't mean that the solution needs to be not working properly, not being stable. All of those things are building blocks for your reputation. And the next time that you build something, if you build something that it's not buggy, people are not going to trust you, because they are just going to think that the software that you did is going to be equally bad as the previous one. There is a difference between building an MVP that goes from being a skateboard to being an absolute amazing sports car to building a car without the four wheels. Those are not the same type of MVPs that you want to build. One MVP is going to be a failure of a product and the other one is going to keep evolving and getting better. These are the things that at least I've learned in the last few months building projects, and those are things that honestly I wish someone would have told me. It's not like I have all the time in the world to build projects. I still have a life, I still have responsibilities, I still have other things, and at least until I have a successful idea, I have to keep grinding and building all of the things, and I don't have infinite time in the world. So I need to be quite productive and efficient with all of the things that I'm doing, because otherwise I'm just not going to build things fast enough. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.